Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I am going to respond to subscriber questions in this video. Stay tuned. So, I recently put up a post on the community tab, and I asked for people to let me know whether there are questions that they wanted me to respond to. And after a couple of hours, there was a healthy number of responses there. And as I begun to scan some of those responses, I realized that I did not want to spend a whole lot of time thinking through the questions and the answers before the video. I wanted to be a little more spontaneous. And so what I've decided to do is to basically record this video and to try to do as few edits as possible while I basically respond to the questions that have been submitted by you, the subscriber. And so I have the questions on my phone, and I'm actually going to scroll through them and attempt to answer these questions in the order in which I see them. And there's a lot of them. So if it gets to the point where I feel like there's a lot of questions and the video is getting pretty long, I may cut it off. But I'm going to try to respond to as many questions as I possibly can in the course of this video. So the first question comes from my buddy Johnny Future. And he says, "You are suddenly blessed with a talent, but pick only one. Number one, great comic writer or a great comic artist. Pick one and explain why you prefer that talent." This is a tough one. It's a tough one because I'm going to be honest, I have zero artistic creativity. I cannot draw to save my life. My wife can draw. She will draw different characters and animals and things like that for my children using, crayons and chalk outside. And they'll look at me and say, "Dad, draw us whatever." And I'm like, "Go ask your mother." So I have zero talent when it comes to artistic things. I do, however, have an ability to put pen to paper and actually write something that is pretty solid. I've been a published writer since I was 16 years of age. I've published articles on fitness literally all around the world in different magazines and online websites and things like that. So that is a talent that I actually possess. But fiction writing is a little different. And so I would say if I had one talent, I could get on board with being a fiction writer. I think it's really cool to be able to, like Donny Cates, be able to write these, Jonathan Hickman, these wonderful stories, right, that capture people's imagination through words. And if I had the ability to write fiction, I think that would be pretty cool. I think, artists I think are super talented, but I like writing. I like the power of the written and spoken word. And so that's already something that I'm kind of fond of. And to be able to do it as a fiction writer, I think would be pretty cool. So there you go, Johnny Future. The next one is from Nicholas. Nicholas says, "If I upgrade my CGC account from basic to premium because of your video, is there still a way to use your referral?" I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes to that. I think if you click on that link, there's a way to upgrade and to still have me get a credit. For those that don't know, anytime I refer someone to CGC, they actually give me a couple of bucks for the referral. That money honestly just goes into grading the comics that I end up sending to them anyway. And so I never really see it. But you see it because when the books come back, I end up making videos out of it and all that good stuff. So Nicholas, I believe that there is indeed a way to do it. And if you can't do it via the online system, if you send them an email, they can definitely credit your account to my profile, and I will receive credit that way. And I will say thank you in advance for even asking the question. Number two, if you could create your own what if, and this is from Nicholas comic, what would the storyline be? So this is actually the question that I read that captured my attention and made me realize I wanted to do this more spontaneously. I would want to see potentially what would happen if in the love triangle of Cyclops, Wolverine, and Jean Grey, if Jean Grey decided she was actually going to hook up with Wolverine instead of Cyclops. I would want to see what happens to Cyclops, right? What happens to his psyche as like the Boy Scout? Does he maintain that, or does he, become hardened as a result? And I would want to see what happens with Wolverine, who is a lover, right? Wolverine, after all, is a fighter, but he is also a lover, right? What would happen to him because of Jean Grey? What would happen to Jean Grey because of her relationship with Wolverine and her turning her back on Cyclops? That would be an interesting what if to see. And of course, what happens if Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean Grey have a kid? Very good question, Nicholas. He has a lot of questions here, so we're going to see whether I can kind of tick through some of these. He says, favorite one-shot. I think one of my favorite one-shots, honestly, is probably that Submariner Iron Man one-shot. I dig that. I recently read the Wolverine Blade one-shot. I think that was pretty cool. I'm not really a one-shot guy, to be honest with you, but those are two that readily come to mind as being books that I really enjoy reading, so maybe there you go. Favorite cover art of all time. That's a really hard one, to be honest with you, because there's so many gorgeous covers out there. I would say one that I think readily comes to mind is Amazing Spider-Man 50. It's a red cover. It is signed by Stan Lee. I watched him sign it, right? So that's pretty cool. John Romita Sr. signed it as well. I had that one done via a facilitator. But that is already a gorgeous cover. It's my favorite color. It is my favorite character. And it is signed by two fantastic creators. So if I had to pick a favorite cover of all time, it might be that one. Or I could change it. I don't know. I feel like the market for Superman is pretty low. I never really hear about people collecting or any big interest in it unless it's Action Comics. Any clue why that might be? Nope. No clue. I am not a Superman fan, never have been. I have zero interest in Superman. The fact that he is all powerful, maybe that's it. Maybe there's a lack of interest. I've actually never read a Superman comic of any shape or form. I've only read maybe one or two comics that even had Superman in them, and it was because it was a Batman book. I have zero interest in Superman. And it's not I'm not trying to offend people who love Superman. Love who you love, like what you like. I don't know. There is no appeal to me to read a Superman comic, and I don't know why that is. Maybe again because he's so perfect. He's all powerful, if you will, right? Maybe that's why I feel like I can't connect with him. It's kind of similar to Captain America. I have no interest in reading Captain America. I think that they've added some texture and detail to his character over the last couple of years, but I really have had no interest in reading Captain America. And again, this is not intended to offend anyone that loves those characters. It is Reggie's opinion on like this character. So. Maybe a how to use GoCollect video. This is from my buddy Ariel. He says, I just recently figured out how to add comics to a list and how to keep track of my collection. Sadly, I've been using GoCollect for some time now. So there is actually a video on GoCollect. There is a video. I actually did a how I organize my collection video using GoCollect, and I use GoCollect and have used GoCollect long before I developed a relationship with them as a sponsor for part of the channel. I use them because I needed to get insurance for my collection. And so I used their cataloging feature in order to capture the purchase price of my slabs as well as the current FMV to be able to generate a report to tell me how much those books were worth for the purpose of insurance. So there's a lot that is in GoCollect, and I kind of demonstrate some of the features and functionality weekly on the Ready, Set, Go preview show. But in this video where I think I talk about valuing my collection and cataloging it, if you search for Regie Collects cataloging or something like that, you should be able to pull up the video in which I demonstrate some of the features and functionality of GoCollect. I've also been trying to get the owner of GoCollect on camera for quite some time. He is a little reluctant. He is super busy, and it's been very difficult to actually get him on the show to actually talk about the features and functionality. They recently had a VP of marketing come on board. I'm letting that person kind of get up to speed, and maybe we will have better luck getting the VP of marketing on the show to talk about the features and functionality versus the founder who I know pretty well, but is super busy. So Ariel, you should be able to find at least one of those videos on the channel. If not, let me know and I will definitely hook you up. Thank you for asking the question. Punish Comics says, classic suit Spidey or black suit? I am going to pick the black suit. I am a huge fan of the black suit Spidey. In fact, I went on a mission to collect all of the comics in which the black costume appeared prior to Amazing Spider-Man 252. This is one of the first projects that I worked on when I came into the hobby around the end of 2017 into 2018. It was a really, really cool project to work on. So black costume is number one. Second would be the classic costume with the webbing under the arm. The John Romita Sr., I do believe, I think that was his work. No, it actually wasn't him. But the early Spider-Man regular costume with the webbing under the arm, I dig that. And in last place, I would probably put the classic Spider-Man. I've actually debated doing a video in which I actually show you guys the first appearances of these mini costumes of Spider-Man, like the stealth, the Future Foundation. Like, he has a lot of really cool costumes. The iron suit, the Iron Spider, maybe that's what it is. I've been noodling this video for quite some time, haven't put it together, but maybe I will at some point. So scrolling down through the comments here, this is from Scott. He says, I have several comics that I would love to have graded. I have a tough time having them slabbed and losing the ability to open and enjoy them with my future grandchildren. I brought this up in a different form and will ask you, is there some way that CGC can grade the book and provide a digital scan of the book? I think for the cost of grading, either a scan or digital code for Comixology or some other service of the book should be included. What are your thoughts? So the thing is, there's nothing forcing you to get a comic graded. So I would say if you struggle with it, then don't get the comic graded, right? Don't do it. If it's not something that you're interested in and you still have this desire, then one, don't do it, right? There's no reason why you would want to do it if it's not your thing. Second, if you do it, then maybe you don't go with CGC and maybe you slab the comics yourself using Comic Scan, where you have the ability to actually take the side rails off and actually still read the comic. If you want it to be professionally graded but still want to access it, you can go to CBCS. They do raw comic grading, where they will basically grade the comic, protect it in a Mylar, but you can still open it up. You could go to EGS, and I actually have one of EGS's books on the wall back there, that X-Men 3, no, the X-Men 1 back there, X-Men Red. That is an EGS. EGS will actually professionally grade your comic. They will use Comic Scan to basically protect the comic, but you can still access the book at any time. There are lots of reasons to get books graded in slabs. There are lots of options that will still allow you to have a graded comic and still be able to access that comic. You can also just put it in Mylar or a top loader and call it a day. If you don't want to do it, then don't. His second question, and as far as if you still want to read it, then get a subscription to Comixology or get a subscription to Marvel Unlimited, and $69 a year. I do it every single year for the last 2 years. You have access to all the Marvel comics that are out there. And so could CGC develop a relationship with Comixology in order to provide those? Yes, but they would also charge you for it. And so why not just go ahead and buy it? So the second question, how about Regie's Hero workout set each week for those of us trying to get back in shape? Just a thought. So I will continue to noodle that one, my friend. I will continue to noodle that. Scott, I'm going to go ahead and like that comment here on YouTube. Scrolling down, Super Honorable Nephew. Love this guy. He says, hey, Reggie, how many comics roughly have you had graded? That's a tough one. There are 16 books behind me, 14 books in front of me. I have a short box of graded comics there. I have 4 back here that are somewhat full, mostly full. I would probably say, just to be safe, fewer than 300 comics. I would probably say fewer than 300 comics that I've had graded. I probably have 200 or so still in the collection. I feel comfortable with those numbers. Without counting and doing this on the fly, I would say 300 and 200 or so still in the collection right now. Unruly Simeon says, what is your favorite music genre, favorite band, favorite album? Finally, what's the airspeed velocity? Some people have to be filtered. Unruly Simeon is a good dude. So my favorite genre of music, it depends. It depends. When I am at work and I am trying to brainstorm and I'm trying to be strategic and I'm at my whiteboard writing out my thoughts, I listen to a lot of classical music. I find words to be distracting when I'm brainstorming. So the music, the rhythms, the harmonies of classical music helps me think. It helps me to block out ambient noise and allows me to focus on just being creative and getting my thoughts out onto the whiteboard. So I dig classical music. If I am driving, if I am working out, a lot of times it's rap music. I dig rap music. I always have. West Coast rap music from the 90s is like my jam. And anything West Coast by and large, your Snoop Dogg, your Dre, your Kendrick Lamar's, any of that kind of stuff, I can definitely get on board with. I dig Drake. I love music. Love music. Back in the day, before I had kids, I literally had music playing all the time in the house as background. When I was in the dorm in college, I always had music playing. But because I have kids, I can't really play gangster rap around them because I don't like to expose my children to anything that could be violent or have bad curse words and stuff like that. So I steer clear of that. So favorite album, that's tough. Pick something from the 90s that involves Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and I'm probably on board with it. NWA, probably on board with that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and like that one as well. So comic question. This is from Obi-Guy 2000. He says, what is a simple criteria for you when deciding whether to submit a books to CGC or leave them raw? This is actually a good question. So, not every comic should be graded, right? Not every comic should be graded. And so there are many criteria, right? If a comic has some sentimental value to me, I don't care what the comic is worth. I'm going to get the comic graded because I want to preserve it. So a gift from my wife, that comic is going to get graded. Doesn't matter what the value is. A comic from my childhood that has some significance to me, that comic is going to get graded potentially, right? Because honestly, Mylar top loader, that I don't use top loaders, but Mylar, great way to preserve a book. You put some of those MIP sheets in there to help with like the breakdown of the comic, to help kind of, remove some of those harmful gases. Great way to be able to preserve a book. A lot of times it comes down to what is the cost, or what is the value of the book versus what is the cost to get that book graded. And so there is a video on the channel, and if you were really curious, send me a message. I'll try to send it to you. I can't remember the exact title of the book, but it's like things to consider before submitting a book to CGC. And I actually go through some of the math where I say, here's the cost to get a book cleaned, pressed, graded, shipped to and from CGC. That's the cost. If the cost, let's say, is $35 to do all of that, and the value of the book is less than $35, that's probably not a book that I'm going to have graded unless there are some other reasons to have that book preserved, like sentimental reasons, right? If the cost of the book is $35 to have it clean, pressed, slab graded, all that good stuff, and the cost is $50 or the value of the book is $50, then you have to make a judgment call, right? Or is the book going to stay in your collection long term? Are you planning to sell the book? What are you planning to do with the book? So I think that it's a simple question to ask, but not necessarily a simple question to answer, because so much of it comes down to, it depends. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you going to do with the book? Are you going to keep the book long term? Are you trying to sell the book? Are you trying to flip the book? There are a lot of questions. So, Obi Guy, if you want to talk more about it, send me a message. We can dig into it, but hopefully I've given you a couple of things to consider here. And if I remember, I'll try to find that video and I'll try to plug it into the description of this video if I remember. But there is a playlist. If you search for Regie Collects CGC, you might actually pull it up, because I think I've created a playlist with like 4 or 5 videos that kind of focus on the very question that you're answering or asking. So some of the other things is you have to look at what is the value of the book? What is the grade of the book that you have, right? So if you have a book that will cost you $35 to have graded, but the condition of the book is so great that that book graded is worth, let's say, $100, it's kind of sort of a no-brainer. If you can evaluate that book and determine with the clean and the press that book can come back at a 9.8, and the cost to have it clean, pressed, and graded is $35, then maybe you do it. So I think it's almost like a book by book thing that you have to evaluate. So you can only get one Todd McFarlane Spider-Man 1990 #1 comic, CGC 9.8, with the platinum not being an option. Which one do you sink money into? The green cover, the black cover, and the silver $175, the black and silver $2, or the gold cover? Oh, wow. I need to think about that one. Which one? Is it the $2 that's the more rare book? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've thought about the Spider-Man 90 series. I think it's that $2 that is the weird one that jumps out, that looks distinctly different from the others. Part of it is that I have many of the green, many of the black, many of the silver. I have those. I don't have the platinum, and I don't have the chromium one, because that would be dope. The chromium, well, you didn't say that, so I like the chromium one. But I think it's the $2 version that is the one that's a little different. So maybe that's the one that I would get. And this is one of those things where I'm going to answer it, and then I'm going to go do the research, and then I'm going to regret the answer that I gave. But we are doing this like in the moment. That is my answer. That is my final answer. Scrolling down through some of the comments. What is your favorite Spider-Man series after ASM? That's a hard one. Favorite Spider-Man series after ASM? Is that all encompassing of like anything Spider-Man related? So would Venom Lethal Protector be included in there? Favorite Spider-Man series after ASM? I just for the sake of just being simple, I would go with Web of Spider-Man. And I say that because Web of Spider-Man is when I used to be a subscriber to the mailing service from Marvel, I used to get Web of Spider-Man literally delivered to my house in the blue poly bag that was partially see-through with the seam on the back. I used to get my comics, I think it was every month, and that was that I could afford a subscription to Web of Spider-Man. And so that was the one that I maintained for a very long time. So that's why I have so many Web of Spider-Man comics, is because of that. And so let's go with that one. Let's go with that one. There's some sentimental reasons for that one. And Web of Spider-Man was also a really good title. So let's roll with that one. Scrolling down through some comments here. So this is Zishan. Zishan says, hey brother, first off, hashtag giving game. Hashtag. Yes, I hauled up ASM 110 for $8 in great condition. I think he's over in the UK maybe, based because he's using the pound symbol. So congratulations, brother, on that. He says, due to my eyesight, he doesn't do Instagram. Question 1, are you going to pick up any Spawn 300 and 301 comics? I am not picking up 300. And yes, I know that is the first appearance of She-Spawn, but I'm not picking it up. I'm not a Spawn fan, so let me first caveat with that. So 300 to me is not, it's the first appearance of She-Spawn, yes, but it is not the record-breaking issue. 301 is the record-breaking issue. So if I were to pick up one, it would probably be 301 and not 300. Am I going to pick up 300? Probably not. Probably not. I think If you're a Spawn fan like She Spawn is on Instagram, she's a huge Spawn fan, huge Todd McFarlane's fan. I think she's going to pick him up. I think I saw a post where she's picked up just about every cover out there. This is her Super Bowl. She should enjoy it. She should pick him up. She's a true fan. I'm not a fan. I have a goal for my collection, and Spawn does not fit that goal. And so I am not going to partake, but I think that everyone who is a fan should absolutely enjoy this moment. And as a comic book fan, and as a fan of Todd McFarlane because he worked on Spider-Man, I salute him. I salute his accomplishment, and I hope that Spawn 300 and 301 are amazing comics. So what are your thoughts on DC announcing a black Batman? Hope all is good with your family. So I have not heard anything about them announcing a black Batman. I think that in my mind, Batman is Bruce Wayne. Always has been. Doesn't matter who they decide to make Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. And so in my mind, that is Batman. I think diversity is cool. My thing is when you basically change the gender or the race, or I'm sorry, more culture or ethnicity, if you will, of a character, I don't necessarily get it, but it's being done for a reason. And if people like it, I think that's cool. Batman is Bruce Wayne, and I'm actually okay with that. And Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I'm actually okay with that. There you go. So, so Nick says, this is my first month getting wrecked by Phoebe. Can you do a video about IG buying and selling? The concept seems shady and foreign to me. I don't think it's a foreign concept or shady concept at all. I think that if you want to have a personal connection with the person that you are buying from or selling to, Instagram's a good way to do it. I sell 90% of my books actually go directly through Instagram. I put things up in my story. People see it. People reach out to me, ask the price. I tell them the price. I show them a screen grab of GoCollect. They can see what the FMV is. I tell them what the price is. I tell them what the shipping is. They send the money to me, friends and family, via PayPal, and I send them a book. Nothing shady about it at all. I think it works incredibly well. And so what I would say is, Instagram, eBay, they're all the same, right? To some degree or another. I think that shady people will be shady wherever they happen to be. Whatever platform they're using, shady people will be shady. I try to do business with people that can be trusted. I sent a guy money the other day who has followed me for quite some time. We've had a couple of conversations. I never even saw the book. He told me what the book was. I sent the money. I have a tremendous amount of faith because there are people that I deal with, and I'm quite comfortable with that. And I think the great thing about Instagram is that you have the ability to develop a relationship with people before you actually do business with them, because you can look at the books that they're posting up. You can send them messages and you can have a conversation with them. And I actually enjoy that. I enjoy knowing who it is that I'm buying from and who it is that I'm selling to. On eBay, you have no clue. You have no clue who these people are. And there was a guy just the other day that told me that he was debating selling his book. He actually sold the book. He sent the book. The book was supposedly damaged. The person is asking for a refund because the book was supposedly damaged. He has no clue whether that book was actually damaged or not. And again, I personally like Instagram. I am a fan of it. But what I would always say to you about anything, you have to do what works for you. If Instagram doesn't work for you, don't use Instagram. If Phoebe works for you, then you have to be fine with Phoebe and the cost associated with doing business there. You know what I'm saying? There is always a price to be paid for these things. So I dig Instagram. Phoebe, not so much. Not so much. Why haven't you gotten into Golden Age yet? But I have, my friend. This is the Airman. He is asking this question. I recently picked up a pre-code horror comic. So part of the reason why I haven't gone very heavily into Golden Age or any of these other types of books is because I have a goal for my collection. I have an objective that I am trying to achieve, and that objective is to complete my run of Amazing Spider-Man. I have an ability to have a myopic focus on a goal. It is one of my talents. And so when I have a goal, when I have something I'm trying to accomplish, I focus on that thing. I think that Golden Age comics move at a different rhythm, the same way original art moves at a different rhythm. And I think that in order, and if you think about some of my videos, to be really in those areas, you have to understand how the market moves, and you have to understand what the prices are and how prices are triangulated and what a good price versus a bad price is. I can very easily jump into original art and Golden Age comics and make a ton of mistakes and get off track with what my actual goal is, which is to complete a run of Amazing Spider-Man. And so my goal is to complete that run while also trying to improve my understanding of Golden Age comics and original art, so that when I do go into those areas, I'm not going in as a neophyte. So hopefully that helps you to understand a little bit about where I'm coming from. All right, so there are a lot more questions than what I'm going to be able to get to in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this one up, and I'm going to probably do a part 2 in which I continue answering some of the other questions that you guys have for me. I want to give a huge shout out to every single person that submitted a question that was answered in this video or may be answered in the next video. I want to thank you guys for being part of this journey, for being part of what I am trying to do here at Regie Collects. I hope that you guys are enjoying all of the content that I'm putting out. And if you do, I definitely want to encourage you to like the videos, give them a thumbs up, post up a comment, and let me know what your thoughts are. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at Regie Collects on Instagram and regiecollects@gmail.com. Take care.